Oh no, I found my rant.
Oh.
Similar to Fallout. The original Fallouts and Fallout New Vegas, as opposed to Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, have political commentary and something to say. They have a message. They have a lot of messages in them. They have a lot of meaning in them. And that's kind of what sets it apart, because it's not just a pew pew, like, you know, video game. There's actually shit being said. There's actually, like,
In Fallout 1,
opinion.
2 in New Vegas?
1, 2, New Vegas. Yes.
Hey, there's a message too in Fallout 4, which is slavery is bad. That's the whole message, but I don't know if you
Did we
expected
really-
more. That's the entire message. Slavery is
Okay.
bad. That's it.
1, yes, it's bad. 2, you can't. Do we not know this by now? This is.
We needed a refresher, I think. Probably. I assume they decided you need a refresher course, you know?
We need a refresher course, you know? Slavery is bad. Being evil is bad, guys.
Be polite
It's
to your
bad.
toaster. Be polite to your toaster. It makes your bread. It might burn it eventually if you're being mean to it.
But like, similarly, superhero stuff. And I'm talking like the original kind of comics, particularly, I will say, so I do know that the original like Superman stuff was a lot of like pro-America stuff, in a time where
Also,
America
did you know
really...
that Superman originally couldn't fly? He could just jump.
Yeah,
But when
you-
they switched the rider, he just didn't know that he's jumping, and so he just assumed he can fly. That's it.
That's adorable. But like, when the original like Superman stuff came out, like that was like, yay, America's good. And that was in a time where like America was like really loving that stuff, you know?
Like Fallout, very
similarly,
pro-American.
yes.
Yeah,
Very-
it's,
yep,
it's
very-
from that time period.
In
yeah.
universe, yes. And a lot of, mostly I think, I don't know so much about DC. I know that a lot of Marvel comics had a lot of like commentary about social issues. Like they originally, like, you know, She-Hulk comic, that there was like feminist stuff in there. There was also like stuff about, you know, like racism in America and like class stuff in America. It spread out across
Look
all
at
these
the
different
X-Men.
comics.
It's literally all about like everyone different, you know? It's literally
Yeah.
about that. It's an allegory for that, essentially.
They
Like
had-
gay rights, people of color, whatever, racists.
Yeah, comics said a lot back then. Comics, and that was important. It was great. Like, and a lot of people would hand wave comics, but like I genuinely believe that like comics back then, they had a lot to say. They really, and I would say like even some of the like, it does show in some of the very early comic book movies. Yeah, there's a lot of politics in comics. Like maybe it's not as some of it's right at the front, some of it is a little bit hidden, but like it's important and it's good. That is not happening in the movies now.
No,
I
it's
don't
all for
think-
money. It's all for money.
Yeah, it's all for the IP, it's all for money. It's all like, it's the meaning has really been lost, and you can really see a lot of there's a lot of like who's the guy who did Watchmen originally? Fuck, I can't remember. There's like
I forgot his name, but I know who you mean exactly. Like I know the guy.
And they completely like, no, the movies, they're not, it's not the same. Like it's completely.
Oh, he hated the movies. He hated them.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
said you
it's like-
completely like missed the message. You completely missed the message.
Completely.
Alan
Alan
Moore.
Moore. He was in Simpsons. He did a voice acting thing for Simpsons. I love him. And like these are, and a lot of people think like, you know, oh, they're just comic book incel basement dwellers. No, the people who write comics are usually incredibly like educated and insightful people, who are getting their message out in a way that is like easier for people to like consume and digest, because you know comics are a little bit easier than having to sit down and read a big fucking book, and I appreciate that. But
I personally really admire Stan Lee. He changed the face of like what a hero is. Like, did you know that they forbid him from releasing Spider-Man? His
really,
first year? Yeah, you know why?
why?
Because he was a teenager with issues. He had problems, real life problems, you know. He had to somehow like balance it with home. He had guilt over his uncle. He's
Yeah.
had high school life. He's a high school kid with life,
And he
you
was
know.
poor, I'm pretty sure.
And he was poor. And they said a hero can't be having problems. A hero must be perfect. That's what his editor told him. A hero must be perfect, like Superman. Superman is perfect. He doesn't have problems. And he said, come
What?
on, give me a try. Give me a try. They refused him 3 times. And the fourth time, he said, fine, Stan, just release it. You'll see it's such a failure. And it became the top selling comic book like for the next 4 months. And they did, it was a test issue. They didn't plan on anything, but they got so much mail, actual mail, letters back then. There was no internet, demanding they continue the story of Peter Parker. And they said, all right, Stan, you proved your point. Fine. Here's a contract. You continue the comic. And ever since then, suddenly, if you look at the time, all of a sudden, a lot of comic book heroes became people instead of these ideals personified.
And he released it without them?
Yeah, he released it without them. He just went around them eventually.
Ah. Okay.
And they came up back to him like, "Okay, Stan, you're right. You were right. Fine. You had a thing. Let's make this like properly now. Fine."
It's almost like there's a reason movie writers latched more onto Batman and Iron Man being capitalists rather than philanthropists. I remember talking to my dad, because my dad liked comics a lot, which surprisingly we haven't talked about it as much because I think we bonded more over like Western movies and stuff.
Bye, Robbie.
But he talked about how Superman was boring. Superman.
I think Superman is boring too.
Yeah, he said Superman was one of the most boring comics, and whenever he could like pick, he would usually go for Batman because that was the one that was usually in stock. It was usually like available because Batman was huge, and it was way more interesting than Superman. Superman was always boring.
Like, I can give you proof why Superman is boring, like completely, the most boring character. Superman is only interesting when he's doing something completely different or when he dies.
Okay.
Like from the Superman sagas, like I've not read the Superman comics, but from word of mouth, they tell me like the most interesting parts of the comics is when people deal with the consequences of his death.
Yeah.
Like those are the most interesting times. Like, oh shit, what are we gonna do without? He's literally protecting the planet from super aliens that literally don't come here because he lives here. How are we gonna deal with that now? That's literally the most interesting parts of Superman. Or when he becomes a communist or Mexican. I don't know. Like that's the only times he's interesting. Mexican Superman is actually pretty awesome.
Really? I didn't know that was a thing. I think I heard about
It was in a cartoon where instead of landing in Kansas, he landed in Mexico. So he's he's more brutal because he grew up in Mexico poor with his family, and he saw like the unfairness. Like he grew up like the original Superman is like
when was that one published?
I think it was in a cartoon. It was in a cartoon.
Oh, I see.
Where they made alternative superheroes, a new series for that. And basically original Superman grew up like in the idealistic American values family, you know, where he grew up with all the proper ideals to become a good man.
Oh, the American ideal.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point, because Superman was literally made during he's Mr. America essentially. But in Mexico he grew up like he's seeing the unfairness, like how people are treating cartels, everything like that. So he's like, oh, I gotta kill that villain because he's gonna destroy the town, but there's a school bus full of kids that are in danger. I'm gonna go for the villain. I'm not gonna save those kids. Nah.
Oh, I remember Smallville. I didn't watch it though, but I remember it.
I watched Smallville until it went batshit crazy. I don't know what happened there. It's like it went off the rails.
Yeah, but like most shows.
But I kind of liked it. I liked that show. The first seasons are actually pretty good. It's like, hey, it's a Superman that is not yet Superman. He barely knows. He didn't even get like X-ray vision. He was just strong and fast. That's it. He couldn't even fly yet. He didn't learn how to fly. So he's just dealing with weird alien rock people that got mutated. Yeah, apparently if people live next to kryptonite a long time, they get superpowers, according to that show. So they could get away with villain of the week thing.
Sorry, my brain's doing that thing where it's starting to like shut down.
It happens. It happens.
We've hit the 3-hour mark, and I'm like, But yeah.
No,
Point.
it's not that. It's not like Superman is a like. I don't like the concept. I don't like how they handled the concept. I'm not gonna say that Superman is awful. Like I've been told that there are a lot of comics where Superman is actually like more humanized, a more interesting character with more nuance to him. Like he feels like a character. But in a lot of comics, he's in a lot of comics, he's literally just a personified ideal. He's not a character. He's Superman, and that's it. He's the name and the appearance, but he's not a real character. That's why he's boring, because that's what they usually go with.
Man, the old Superman movies were pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie.
I love the fact that you could turn back time by spinning the word in the counterclockwise.
My dad
in the
always
opposite
brings
direction.
that up. He's always like, oh yeah, and then Superman would fly around the world really fast to make it spin the other way and make time go back. And I'm like, what? That wouldn't even work.
Yeah, but he's Superman. He can do it. Oh, and then new movies turn Superman into Jesus. You've seen the new movies?
I've seen. I saw their version of Avengers, Justice League, which people didn't really like. I saw that one, and the only thing I liked is they had a cover of "Come Together" by the Beatles, by somebody else that I really liked. I just liked the song. That's it. That was the only thing I liked from the movie.
In the movies, Superman always T-poses in front of the sun. Like, he does the Jesus pose all the time. All the time. They're really like... the allegory that, Superman is a Jesus figure is, like, as subtle as a brick to the face. Like, they think he's subtle, but they're not.
He's American values. He's all about how America is great, and also... American values back then was Christianity, so of course there's gonna be a lot of like Jesus.
Oh yeah, like in Man of Steel, where he completely destroyed the city and killed millions. Yeah, American values.
Yeah, American values.
Yeah, sure.
Unironically. I'm sorry.
Yeah, try to spin that around as American values now. Back then in 2013, yeah. Hey, it's been almost 10 years. We're almost in 23 now. Jeez, we're almost at 23.
Hey. Sorry, I want to make a joke about maybe they'll rebuild in 200 years and then say it's been rebuilt too fast.
Too fast. Superman, come over here. Wreck 50% of it.
It's not realistic if you rebuild it that fast. What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm kind of burned out on like the superhero genre. I'm kind of burnt out on it, mostly because I find it unrealistic. I don't know if you've heard about this a web novel called Worm or Parahumans.
Maybe I have. I'm not sure.
It's grim dark, which is honestly a very realistic depiction of what a world would look like as with superheroes. Obviously, the villains would outnumber the heroes, obviously. Because, of course, people would go and commit crime to get rich fast. Like, it makes sense. They got kaijus. I mean, looking at that, I'm like, after I read it, I'm like, you know, that's actually very realistic. Like, of course, people would go commit crime. I'm thinking, if I got superpowers now, what would I do? Would I go out, be a superhero? Would I go to the nearest bank? And the answer was probably the bank, if I could get away with it.
I feel like, okay, depending on what the superpowers were, but let's just say blanket superpowers, right? You just have, like, a bunch or whatever. I would not want to go around saving people. That sounds like a huge, like, imposition on my time. I feel like subtle crime, like, maybe just, like, a lot of shoplifting. I don't know.
I mean, the main character in the book, like, I'm pretty sure no one's gonna read it off of my recommendation, but the main hero of the book, of the novel, is basically, she's got bug control powers. Like
Cool.
super macro management, like to the point where she can individually control every single bug in a swarm of billions individually. That sort of level of control. And she basically kills the Superman of that world, of that setting,
Nice.
by drowning her in bugs. Because while she is invulnerable, she still needs to breathe.
Bugs.
She drowned her in bugs. She flooded her mouth with bugs and clogged her lungs. And
That does
even
sound pretty
then,
good.
it could not kill her because it just dropped her into a coma.
What's the name? Yeah, they want to read it.
It's called look up Worm or Parahumans. Yeah, that's the official name. Although everyone calls it Worm for some reason. It even got a sequel.
Worm? Okay.
Oh, look at that. It's
Hey.
Hazel. Hi.
Hi, Hazel. We talking about superhero movies and being burnt out on them.
Yeah, I'm just, after reading that, I'm like looking at all those idealistic depictions in movies and shows. I'm like, meh. I've seen it in Avengers. It's been overdone, you know?
I mean, okay, so like all right, I get idealism. I get it in media, but it's not as popular as it once was. I think idealism was a lot more popular in like the 50s and before then. Back when, it was more proper to be like publicly okay. Everything had to be like good and doing well and whatnot.
Oh, nowadays it's more about humanizing heroes, flawed heroes rather, because
Yep.
deep down we all know we're flawed in some
Yeah.
in some aspect. So whenever the hero is flawed, we can relate more because he's
Yeah.
got these powers, but he's just as fucked up as I am. That's amazing. I love him.
And it feels like so we want more like realism rather than idealism. And I don't know. I do kind of prefer that. I know that this is because we are products of our time. It is because we exist now. It'll be interesting to see where it goes from here, whether that'll stay or change or whatnot. But yeah. One thing I do get kind of sad about now and then is how there are less video games and media that are unapologetic about having like a message. A lot of the time the message is something like really simple and kind of basic, like, like Fallout 4, slavery bad. Or
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I'm also tired of that the games that are, you can see them, I can see you trying to tell me something, but you're too afraid to go all in and tell me it. Like a lot of games are afraid. Like I am assuming that the writers of Fallout 4 probably had a lot to say about the subject, but they probably chickened out. So the message was basically cut apart until, slavery is bad, okay?
And we were like, yeah, we know that. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
did you have anything else to say? No?
And that's why
Okay.
it's so funny that it was released the same year as Soma, because like Soma, okay, so Soma's message isn't really so cut and dry because it's a huge like philosophical fucking question, like, and it existential as fuck. Like, it's like, are you if this
no, the
happens,
thing
all
with
this other crap.
Soma is designed to make you think.
Yeah.
It raises a question. Does it give you the answer though?
No.
No,
No,
because
it does
that's
not.
you need to think.
That's
You
the
need to
point.
think for that answer. That's the point, exactly. It gives you a message that will make you think about something.
And I
Like
love
a lot
that.
of games are, I don't know, they're afraid to raise questions now, to give those questions.
I feel like they're afraid of how people will walk away from it. Like, whether people will be like, oh, I don't like being made to think. 4 out of 10 stars. Like,
Too much water.
too much water. 7 out of 10. Like,
Too much thinking. 5 out of 10.
and it's funny because like like Nate says, if you play like indie games that have like writers actually leaving the messages, not chickening out.
Yeah, publishers have the final say. A lot of publishers don't want to make waves, I'm assuming. They just, just release the game and give us money. Bye. Just don't make waves.
Which is okay. Which is funny because controversy sells.
I mean, I think they want the good kind of controversy, not the
Yeah.
bad kind.
But it's fun because I feel like you can. Okay, so like the good kind of controversy would be like Soma in a way. Like that wasn't too controversial, really, but like it made waves. Like word of mouth spread really big about that. Like as long as you're not saying some absolutely fucked up, horrible shit, like something that's just disgusting or bad, you'll be fine. Like just don't say anything
let's be
against-
honest. As long as
Mhm.
what the message you're trying to say is not, oh, Hitler wasn't that bad of a guy,
Yeah,
you're
like, as long
fine.
as you're not, yeah, as long as it's not that level of fucked up, stupid shit, like you should be fine. Like you can be more creative with your writing and your message than just
Like as long as
being bad is
as long as
bad.
it makes people talk about it, you win.
That's
If
why
you make people
I,
argue about something, you win.
I
That
wanna,
means
so,
that
like,
means your game is engaging them, and that is already a win in my book.
yeah, exactly. Like I've only played about 8 hours and I have not finished it. I want to play more Disco Elysium, because I know like they really,
Oh, have you heard
they-
about what happened to them?
yeah, they broke up.
It's awful. It's awful what happened.
Sad. They just broke apart.
That's why you gotta read the fine print. That's why you gotta read the fine print always. They signed the contract and they screwed them over it.
It's so sad. But I will be playing Outer Wilds soon, by the way.
Outer Wilds.
I
I
know
personally plan
nothing
on
about
playing some Fallout 4, but I'll mod the shit out of it so to hide the ugliness.
Yeah.
Add proper
yeah.
guns to the game because I'm sorry, the assault rifle in Fallout 4 is a travesty. I'm not a gun guy, okay? I'm not a gun guy, but even while not being a gun guy and not really like having only basic understanding of firearms, looking at that abomination is disgusting. It is disgusting for me.
I don't know much about guns. Even though my dad
It just
into
looks
guns.
ugly. It just looks ugly visually. Visually, it looks ugly. Why is it round? Why is it so big? It's an assault rifle. Why do you make it look like a heavy machine gun when it's not supposed to be? What happened to the NC? Canonically, the game, the Fallout universe had M16s. What's wrong with the M16? You had
Where
it.
go?
They literally had it. Like the assault rifle. Remember the assault rifle? It's a pre-war gun. It's literally an M4 with an ACOG's like sight. It's in Fallout New Vegas, so the US Army had that. Where did you pull out this monstrosity from? Like, where? I think they kind of missed the fact that, the war happened in 2077, not 1945. I think they missed that. So they tried to design all the guns, like, in the style of the 30s and 50s. But kind of forgot that, there was at least 100 years of development after that for weaponry.
Oh my god. Sorry, now I'm just thinking about how much I hate pipe weapons. But yeah.
There's a mod that replaces them with actual pipe weapons. It's pretty good. It actually
really?
looks functional instead of trash.
Nice.